7, so I think we should get started. Thank you for coming. It's nice to have an audience. Lorraine and I have been preparing for quite some time.
It's got a lot of work.
And so we're glad that you're here. Our hope is that maybe we'll tell you something that you didn't know. And the information that we're sharing is information from documents that we're going to show you where we're getting it from. And so if there's things that you don't understand or we misspeak or you have a question, please ask. It's to share information. We're also hoping that that maybe we'll be able to share some ideas of solutions for the town of Seneca Falls. So with that, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Barb Reese. I live in the town of Seneca Falls, and I've lived here for 16 years.
I'm Lorraine Mahoney. I actually live in the town of Tyre, so I live just north.
Yes. So our plan is we're covering three things. It's kind of a three-part presentation. We're going to start with Seneca Meadows information from permits, the permit that's up here, and also from their 2015 annual report. And then we're going to switch over to the town of Seneca Falls and share some information about Local Law 3, the host community agreement, the town budget. And then we're going to switch gears and talk about the future and what that might entail. So stick with us and let's go.
Sounds like a lot. It's kind of brief.
Yes. So first up is I want to tell you about two permits that are of note with Seneca Meadows. This first one is the permit. It's the Part 360 solid waste permit, and I highlighted. You may see this was renewed in 2007. It was modified in 2008, and this is the one that expires in October 10th, 2017. Seneca Meadows put in for a renewal of this in March of 2016, and all through 2016 they were submitting more information as needed because a lot changes over the 10 years of the permit. So they have asked for the maximal permissible term so that it will be renewed for another 10 years, which if DEC allows that would put it at 2027. And this is the permit that allows for it's the design capacity, which is 6,000 tons per day. So that's the daily limit permit. And so I have been told when I've talked to the DEC, because of the odor problems that we've been having for the last year, they said that they will not renew this permit until they come to Seneca Falls and have a public hearing so that we can be heard. And then they will make their decision whether or not to renew it for 10 years or less. So that's what they told me would happen. So I'm hoping that does. The next document is something that Lorraine and I were just checking out. We foiled this because it's a Title V air permit, and what caught my attention was that this was effective in 2007, but it expired in 2012. So I'm like, whoa, how could that be? But I guess what happens is the permit expires and Seneca Meadows they submitted their renewal on time, along with every year I think they've been submitting modifications about the things that they're doing, but the DEC is behind. And so according to, I don't think it's up here, it's called SAPA, State Administrative Procedure Act. It allows this to happen. So that's why it shows an expiration date, but yet that's their permit. We talked to the DEC last week, and they told us that they're hoping that in 2017 that it will be renewed, and when it gets renewed, it's 5 more years. So it would go till 2022 if it gets renewed this year. And what this allows for, in 2007, 2008 was when Seneca Meadows did applied for the expansion. And what that allowed them to do is double their
Emissions.
potential to emit.
Potential.
And so I keep wanting to use a smart board to scroll this, but I have to come over here. So initially it was issued in 2007, and you had to be less than 250 tons per year of carbon monoxide and less than 100 tons per year of oxides of nitrogen. But once they got the expansion, that doubled. So they have the potential to emit right now, since the 2007, it says they can't go higher than 200 tons per year of the oxides of nitrogen or higher than 500 tons per year of the carbon monoxide.
That sounds like a lot to us. And we said, okay, this is what they're permitted to emit, but what are they actually emitting? So we were going through all these documents and we couldn't find anything specific, and we were on the phone with the DEC and got transferred around, and somebody finally told us there is a special report. Well, not special, but there's a different report, and it's the annual emissions report, which we had to submit another FOIL request to get that, which we did that day, which was near the end of last week, and then there was the holiday for Martin Luther King Day, and we haven't gotten the document yet. So,
are those reports mandated to be filed with the town? Or
I haven't seen it at the town. It's not the one that comes monthly to the town. And so this was something, and when I asked Scott Fody at the DEC about it, he said, you're going to need to FOIL it. So I did. And so we did, we have a partial answer of what the 2015 emissions were, and the good news is they come out way less. But we don't know the whole picture. They come out less. So less than the limits. So we just wanted to know what are the fugitive emissions from the actual mass, the landfill mass, and what are the ones from the flares. So we're still learning, but it was of interest because it had an expiration date that expired and we didn't know anything about it.
well, the other thing is Barb has requested all these documents, and most of them come from what's called District 8. All these Region 8 with the DEC and Avon, and then this other emissions report is filed with the central office in Albany, so there were lots of FOIL requests to try to get.
Who constructs this emissions report?
Who constructs the submission reports? I think that,
We'll find out when we see it.
yeah, we don't,
right?
I assume Seneca Meadows
Yeah.
You ought
files
to
all
get
this.
also the energy producing report.
Yes.
How much was those combined? They consider that as one entity. 2 entities.
Oh, 2 entities. Yeah, we'd rather it
We've
be,
been trying to consider it one entity.
yes. So next, those were the 2 permits we wanted to tell you about. Lorraine is going to tell you about some annual report information here.
And this information is as of the end of 2015. So we covered this last year, a similar piece of information when we did our presentation at the library. This shows what's coming into the landfill and where it's coming from. So first there's all the counties of New York State and what type of waste is coming in and how many tons. So here are all the counties alphabetically, and that continues on for 2 pages. And 92% of the waste that came into Seneca Meadows during 2015, 92.12% of all the waste came from New York State. And there it is. So that's the total. And of note in this, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but here's Seneca County. All of the trash going into that landfill, only 1.18% of it is coming from Seneca County. So it's 26,731 tons per year coming in. So that's 92% of the waste. The other approximately 8% of the waste is coming from a couple northeastern states and Canada. So we have New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Canada. So the grand total, over 2 million tons of trash was placed in 2015.
So going on to the next, if you want to continue.
Yeah. So there's 4 locations here, and it's each of these highlighted regions that Barb indicated in yellow shows how much waste, total waste was in place as of 12/31/15, and it's over 51 million tons of trash. Since we have now also finished 2016, a little more than 2 million more tons went in. So we're now a little over 53 million tons of trash. And we don't have a slide to go with this, but what we thought was interesting is that prior to the year 2000, there was just under 6.5 million tons. So from day 1 till the year 2000, there was 6.5 million tons in place. From 2000 to 2015, almost 45 million tons of trash have been placed in the past 15 years.
I think that's what startled us a little bit, is the sudden growth. And I think that's because the expansion and the permitted capacity increased so much to the 6,000 tons.
Yeah, I don't know what it was before that, but it's been 6,000 tons a day.
So with all of the waste in place comes leaching. And so this, again, scroll it over a little bit more. This is showing you the leachate that's treated off-site. And there's, down here, for 2015, it was just over 39 million gallons of leachate. She pushed the headings off the edge of the page at the front, but these are months. This is the 12 months of 2015. January through December. Yep. So what we've learned is that there's a reverse osmosis cleaning system, and it can process 120,000 gallons per day, and 90,000 gallons of that can come to Seneca Falls through a direct sewer connection, and the other 30,000 gallons goes to Endicott. That's what these 2 columns. However, in 2015, this is showing, I think this averages out, divided by 365 days, it averaged out to like 56,000 gallons per day that we got each day in 2015. But I've talked to Dave Panucci, and I think those numbers are higher
They were higher in 2016.
They were higher in 2016. We'll see that if that's true when that report comes out in March.
So this is 1 year. So this is leachate treated off-site, 39 million gallons. That's in 1 year.
So the next slide that I wanted to show you is the post-closure cost estimate, which you're not going to be able to see very well, so I'm going to blow it. I'm going to zoom in. The landfill has to provide for closure in 30 years after, and so what this is saying is that in the year 2028, leachate and groundwater annual volume will be at 21 million gallons. And so, but continuing down for another 30 years after that, if I scroll down, in 2058, it will still have 12.7 million gallons annually of leachate that we have to
Do something with.
Yes. So I don't know what happens in 2059, but that's from the post-closure report. So you might wonder what's left. And so let me turn this around so you can see this. I think Lorraine is going to tell us about the site life.
I'm going to shrink here a little bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, so the heading on this is telling what the remaining airspace is at the landfill. And what we have coming in is the constructed cells can accommodate this much more. That's 3,929 tons more trash. And the future cells, and that's due to the expansion that they got in 2007, will allow for another nearly 15 million tons of trash. So there's capacity to take in nearly 19 million more tons of trash. And according to explanation that's at the bottom of this page, that this is from a document that Seneca Meadows submitted. Based on the above, the total estimated remaining site life for the SMI facility is therefore estimated to be 7.8 years. And that was 7.8 years going out from December 31st, 2015. So that's what they have existing capacity to accept.
So the math doesn't add up, right?
Well, I mean,
10 years, 7 years, doesn't add up.
So it's about 2 million tons per year. So it seems like this is a higher number than the time limit.
But they're asking to run for 10 more years.
Well, we'll probably get into that because the whole. I think it says this. I think this takes us to what 2023 is what that the air capacity permit. That's what was. You know, if you assume a certain density, that's what you think you're going to get. But it's going to be plus. I mean, I don't really know. It's kind of wait and see. But at this point, there's usually a request for another expansion coming soon, and so that's why. If you remember, like a year ago when Lorraine and I first spoke, it was because we were all like, trash trains, really? For 20 to 30 years? How could that be? It's supposed to close in 2025. Why would it be open till 2040? That's, who's in charge? How could that be?
Right.
And that's, so the deal is that there's still room for more where they are. In this, if I show you a picture, and where's my picture? Oh, I have to open it, excuse me, it closed. And now I have to really, okay, sorry, I have to go through. Somebody should play music, I got lots of wonderful family pictures here. You can scroll through. I know. So within here, this was taken, this is courtesy of Finger Lakes Times, one of their recent articles. But this shows, just to give you, this is 414. This is
Tyre, this is north.
Burgess Road, yes, we're looking north.
Waterloo's over there.
This is Saltman Road that you come in on, the offices.
Waterloo container, Tarjac.
And and this is a couple of years old, but the thought is that this is everything north of here to their boundaries is zoned M2. So there's still room for them maybe to move these. I mean, I'm not really sure, but they remediated Tantello, the hazardous waste site that's now stable and monitored, that they could actually use that. And they could apply for it, and with the zoning laws that we had in place, if they got the approval, that's what would happen, and it would continue on, and that's how that could be a possibility.
So when something is zoned M2, that's refuse disposal.
Yes, and so I did some coloring.
Yeah.
This is showing you the same picture. If you can see, this is Burgess Road, this is 414. This is showing you all this red stuff is already zoned M2, and there's 500 acres, and I think they're just under 400 with this last expansion.
Where is the landfill now?
This is Saltman Road here, so it's pretty much right here. And Tantello is, I think, somewhere in here.
But there's room to expand to the north.
So yes. So the thought is this is extra space that's zoned M2 for another expansion that would take us into 2040.
You're blocking it a bit.
Sorry. I can see it perfectly here. Thank you for telling me, Lorraine. That's a good. All right. So.
But can you go back to the previous slide with the M2, M1?
The red. This one.
Yeah. Now help me. do they own land across to the right of 414?
Yes. I don't know if you can see my little colors, but I color coded, like these all that are yellow were all purchased at the same time by, I'd have to look that up, I don't recall.
So when you say purchased at the same time, these were all properties that were purchased by Seneca Meadows or IESI Corp.
And then the blue ones were all purchased at the same time. There's some pinks and purples in there too, I can't really see them. But they own 80 total proper parcels in Seneca County, I think.
No, what we have on our notes here is that SMI and IESI Corporation own 48 parcels in the town of Seneca Falls. They own an additional 32 parcels in the towns of Waterloo and Junius. And this is all stuff that Mark just looked up.
But that comment you made earlier about currently the footprint on the west side is 400 acres, a total of, or is it 48? What was the acreage?
I think so. The M2 zone is 500.
500, they've used
acres,
about
And
400.
they've used about 400. That's what I'm seeing on some of the.
What, correct me if I'm wrong, most of that stuff on the right side is M2?
A lot of the red M1.
No, the right side of 414.
Oh, no. None of that is,
If it's got an A2 designation, that's agricultural. If it's got an M1 designation, that's industrial.
Why would they be buying it if they can't use it? Just a question.
I don't know. I don't know the plan. I don't know. But I do know that I want to tell you, this is why the 4 out of 5 board members really thought that the town of Seneca Falls waste disposal law, local law 3, was really needed. And so I want to tell you a little bit about it. This is, the law starts out with 16 findings for why we think we need this local law. And then it goes to the purpose, the intention of the local law. And so if I can just read you some of it. The first purpose is to restrict the number, location, and expansion of solid waste management facilities within the town of Seneca Falls in order to promote a clean, wholesome, and attractive environment for the community. Second is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town of Seneca Falls by minimizing the undesirable effects of solid waste management facilities. And then it lists 3 different bullets there. And the third number says to exercise the town of Seneca Falls police powers under the municipal home rule, which basically allows for local governments to be to put more stricter controls on waste management than the state does. So it says we are allowed to do this, and that's why this got passed. It was adopted at the December 2016 board meeting, and this law protects us in a way that the host community agreement does not. And if I go to, I head down here, it works because there's exemptions. There were concerns about agriculture issues, so there's exemptions for farming operations, recycling programs, composting, wastewater treatment plants. And then here comes the part that tells us that Seneca Meadows is exempt from this law until December 31st, 2025. So assuming, as long as if they get their permit renewal by the October 10th, 2017 deadline, or before November 1st, that they will be able to continue operation. So what this law does is it gives us, it doesn't violate the host community agreement. It gives an end date, and it does what our zoning laws weren't going to do for us. That's why the 4 out of 5 town board members thought we needed that.
Why would that be good?
why was that date picked?
Yes.
The December 31st, 2025. I'm going to show you in the host community agreement that this agreement goes to 2025. I think they just picked the end of the year because that was the date to pick.
Question, the only way to stop this really is the bombardment of, we can't, can we?
Oh my gosh,
I mean, we can do it
the
in
power
25.
is in the town.
But they can have it going until 25 if they don't if they get their permit.
Correct.
So that's another-
Yes,
How many millions?
because the town, this law that passed said that it could go that long.
And there will be another approximately 20 million tons of trash that will be coming before that December 31st, 2025. So if you think we've got, 53 million tons now, and yay, we've got an end date in sight, we're still going to be getting another approximately 20 million tons of trash. Probably best case scenario, right? I mean,
Because the DEC is the only one that can stop it, right?
no, the DEC,
If they give them the permit, can we stop?
they have no reason not to give them a permit if they've been allowed by the local government to operate.
And right now, the town is allowing them to operate, even with this local law, that it was sent to the Secretary of State, so it is in effect right now. The town hasn't received verification of it, but it
It was
was
signed and submitted,
It was
so
signed and
it's a valid
submitted.
law. It's in effect.
So,
Question though, if they're in violation for whatever, the town and/or the DEC can shut them down earlier than 2025?
Well, there's actually wording, is it in this document, Barb, about,
if you have proof if you have proof that there is a violation, and you can get it to tell the DEC about it, that will affect whether
they renew a
the
permit?
terms of the new renewal, right? How long the length
Smell
of it.
doesn't count, and it's getting
Well,
worse.
the thing with the smell is they have this odor mitigation program in place. They've been working on it, and we've been told it's not done yet. So,
Well, I came into town to Barb's house at, 2:30 this afternoon, and I got out of my car, and the landfill smell hit me right here in downtown. And then I went home for a couple hours, I came back to Barb's house, I got out of my car, and the smell hit me again. And I said, Barb, she said, I called the number today, because she said she had gone out for a run and smelled it this afternoon, so it was not a good day in the village.
Town permit is still being held in advance, right?
what's that?
The town permit
Yes.
still being held in advance.
Yeah,
A permit that expired in 2016 was not renewed by the town pending
Yeah.
some action.
So part of this host community agreement includes Appendix C that has this Town of Seneca Falls landfill permit. Nobody really knew about it, that the town actually had its own permit for the landfill. At least I didn't even know about it until it came up at the August board meeting, and we were like, what permit? It didn't get renewed, and it hasn't been renewed yet because of the odor problem. And the town attorney, Pat Morrell, has said, let's wait,
Hold off.
until the odor mitigation program is complete, and then we will put it back on the table and decide whether or not we should, renew it.
But to your question earlier, the town holds all the cards. That's the bottom line. Because a year ago, when I first read an article in the Finger Lakes Times about the trash train, the proposed trash train, I went to Nizzolio's office. I called all these representatives. I emailed everybody. I wrote letters to the editor, and all the Nizzolio's representative, and I got a letter back from Palisano, Brian Cole, and I don't know, I forget. They all said, go to the town of Seneca Falls government. They are the ones that are in charge of this. We can't step in. This is not our call. And if you look through some of these documents, the town does hold quite a bit of power in this relationship with the landfill.
And part of, I kind of skipped, but if I go back, it shows you on this page, letter E, that Seneca Meadows will not operate a solid waste management facility at the site or within the town of Seneca Falls, or seek a vertical or lateral expansion of its facility to treat, store, dispose, or transport solid waste after the year 2025, unless and until a new or amended host community agreement is entered into between the town and Seneca Meadows.
And I think what's happened historically is that every time a limit has been reached, an extension has been granted, and an expansion has ensued, and
The town permitted as part of the host agreement, right?
It is part of the whole package.
And it says that's necessary for their operation.
Yes, but right now they're operating and it's not
I realize
renewed.
that.
So our town has a tendency not to enforce some of its zoning laws. And so we've seen this with the whole
site plan
that
deviations
was
from site
where-
plans in the
and
past.
that never got resolved.
Greenhouse and the rail spur and the, so.
And who's responsible in our town for overseeing this appendix C?
Yeah, who got appointed? Who said, I will do it?
For the landfill permit,
Yeah, is that the Waste Management
It's-
Management Committee?
it is, I don't know the answer. I mean, I think it just is part of it that,
Well, continue reading down in that sentence, that's probably why they don't do it.
oh, yes, were you noticing? Yes, yes. So I didn't highlight it all, because that would have just been like coloring the whole paragraph. But the rest of it basically says that if we can't reach an agreement, they can actually operate the landfill without a host agreement. And it's not required in New York State. So, that's of issue as well. So the thing about the host community agreement, we try to find a mutual benefit. They get to bring trash here, we get money. But at the same time, it doesn't protect us from the expansions. That's why
But it
we
makes it
really
very
need
important to
it.
negotiate an agreement. Without an agreement, we could not get any dollars from the landfill.
That-
They can continue to operate.
Yes,
Let's not forget that.
yes. Yep. So, what's next, Lorraine? There is a clause here in the actual permit, number 10, the conditions to operate. It does say that the town of Seneca Falls reserves its right to revoke Seneca Meadows' authority to construct and operate its facility in the event Seneca Meadows violates the terms and conditions of this permit or applicable provisions of the local law. So we sort of feel like maybe with the odor issue, it's been going on, but yet we haven't renewed the permit, but we haven't revoked it.
Is there anybody who knows when the work for the odor mitigation is supposed to be completed?
I think,
Well, you'd have to ask,
I don't know if Kyle wants to tell us, or can you speak to that?
We're about 70% complete on the capping component on the western landfill, and we still have the eastern landfill cap to do. So once the weather breaks, we'll start right back up again and continue that and get that capping done.
Thank you.
The landfill is required to record and report to the town the number of complaints they receive regarding the odor. And Barb has here, 15 months worth of, dozen or so months of number of odor complaints. We don't have anything yet for December, but the numbers have been significant, and I think a lot of these higher numbers here were probably due to increased awareness, outrage, participation after our January presentation and in those couple of town board meetings in Seneca Falls the next few months when it was standing room only, and there was a lot of passion in the community of people being involved, and I don't know that it necessarily smells any less, but the
There were also a lot of open windows in that weather.
I never even noticed it before, and I'm noticing it now.
Yeah.
So the deal is if you smell it, you really should call. We have before you leave, there are cards over on the desk now that are.
With the phone number.
With the phone number, because they need to know, they will do a complaint, a complaint. The town gets them, you get a copy, but you should call. And I mean, it takes a little bit of time, but it's part of their program, and so we should do that.
Barb, can I just make a quick comment about that? And I can pass out cards to everyone. And I have to say, you guys, everybody at the landfill is very polite and helpful. When you call, it's not at all a threatening situation. The people who answer the phone are very kind and polite, and when the inspectors show up, they are also very nice and professional. So I wouldn't hesitate to call, because really it's not intimidating at all.
So yes, please call. And this next, also with the host community agreement, there's the benefit that the town of Seneca Falls receives money. So these are the funds that were budgeted and what we actually received through 2015. The data isn't in yet for 2016 for the last payment, but they did budget it for this year's budget. They are still budgeting 2.3 million in the revenue section.
Yeah, and our thinking is, with this date looming of 12/31/25, the town has about 9 years to think about how they're going to wean themselves off the landfill money, make changes to the budget, bring in other revenue sources.
I was going to hop to my last document here, which I have to rotate it so you can see it. For those of you who went to budget workshops, you may recognize this. This is showing us the grand total of appropriations for the town of Seneca Falls, about $12.6 million. The estimated revenue, about $8.6 million. But remember, I said 2.3 of that is coming from the landfill. So
Which constitutes about 27%.
Yeah. So that is
Significant.
Those are the numbers. So we have challenges ahead of us here, and so that brings us to part 3 of this presentation today.
But before you get into part 3, if I'm hearing you correctly, prior to this town board taking action 4-1 to enact LL3, it was almost like the saying on the street, the host agreement is better than a local law, but from what you're sharing, local law trumps a host agreement.
It does.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question, and Mrs. Anderson asked it about 2025, that's worst case scenario.
Well, we don't see any.
I mean, if there's violations that we've talked about, or let's say come forward, it can be
honestly,
sooner than later.
I'm not the trash scholar that Barb is, but my perception of this in our conversations and our phone calls to the DEC is that it's not so much that there's odors, it's that they are taking steps at Seneca Meadows to address the odors. Therefore, they're doing their job, and so that was my perception. It doesn't matter whether we're having the odor in our front yard or outside of our school or whatever. If they weren't taking actions to address that, then that might constitute a violation. But since they are taking actions to address that,
It's not a violation.
that's my perception of the situation. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not really the reality, it's what's your effort that you're making and what's your intent, and do you have every good intention of dealing with this? And if you do, well then okay.
They don't have to cure the problem, they just have to say they're working.
They just have to address it. They don't have to fix it. That's my perception.
They could drag out the addressing of it for 8 to 10 years. So how come there's no deadline set by the town that by the end of 2017?
That's a good question.
You have to have it mitigated. Or they say, like, I just wrote, it's working on the west side, then they're going to work on the east side. Is the east side going to take 5 to 6 or 7 years? Why can't it be said the east side must be resolved by December 17th.
Well, I think what's happening in the big picture here is that the people that are concerned about this are trying to strike a balance between, hey, if we shut the landfill down at midnight, the money stops and the town is in a fix financially. So I think people have the attitude that a responsible approach is take the 9 years between now and 12/31/25, 8 years, whatever it is, and wean yourself off the landfill money, bring in other sources of revenue, raise taxes a little bit if you have to, trim the budget down a little bit if you have to, and by the time that date hits, it's all good. The landfill has wound down, the financial situation has inched up, and it's all okay. Because I said before at one of those public hearings, if I had a magic wand, I would shut that landfill down this minute. Can't do it. Yeah, and I live in Tyre, so it doesn't impact me financially. So, you know, there's a lot of competing interests here, and nobody likes pulling up to the school to pick up their kids and getting hit with that landfill odor, or outside the library, or walking down Fall Street. But I think
the other issue is that even though there's no violations right now, even when you read like the design of a landfill, it says the liner is going to leak. You just don't know when. And I mean, it has their primary leachate collection and the secondary leachate. So stuff does get through the primary liner and into the secondary. And so there is a potential for that we don't know when, that there could be a problem, and we don't know when that's going to be.
To me, it's sad that at some point, Seneca Meadows they close and they all leave, and we're left with 53 million, well, plus 20 more million. We're going to be sitting here with 70 million tons of trash in our backyard for all of eternity. And all the leachate, which 50 years from now will still be 12 million gallons a year. And the gases that they are permitted to emit, I told Barb, and we are not experts on this, although we have talked to a lot of people and read a lot of these documents, for them to say it's permissible for you to emit 100 tons per year of
Oxides of nitrogen, and it's now up to 250, and for you to emit 500 tons per year of carbon monoxide, and as long as you're below that, that's okay. I said, that's like somebody saying, oh, your weight is below 400 pounds, you're healthy. You know what I mean? The parameters are so wide that the amount that they're allowed to emit is just staggering. So
I gotta say something there. Okay.
Sure.
First, I read your thing here, and I think your financial goals are a little too optimistic. I think you're gonna run into some serious problems there. Second, there's a clay liner that will never deteriorate and never leak underneath those two plastic liners.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. And now we're getting to CO2, which is not a pollutant. It's actually beneficial.
But it can kill you.
Carbon monoxide.
No, you got carbon monoxide.
Yeah, that's all we've been discussing is carbon monoxide. There are
it's
only
carbon dioxide, O2.
We haven't mentioned that, and it's not in any of the documents we show.
Carbon monoxide is O1.
It's just CO. Yep.
That's what they
Right. They're emitting CO2. Read your chart. It's CO2, not CO.
No, it's CO. We've read the charts many times, and they were just up there. There is no limits on carbon dioxide, but there are limits on carbon monoxide, and that's what we showed.
You showed nitrogen oxide.
We showed NOx, which is all the oxides of nitrogen.
Do you want to see it, Bob?
We talked to the DEC about this at length, but go ahead.
I'm
going to step out.
Water. The rain. So, pardon me for just a moment here. That was my second page, or my third page. This is the second page. And this was the air permit, Mr. McGill.
Yes.
And it says, I think I can make it, and actually maybe I'll go to the page that actually shows what it's at right now after the expansion.
Mr. Durso, look it up on your computer there, NO2.
So, so what this just says is that the proposed modified Title V permit will include a cap for total facility emissions of less than 200 tons per year of NOx as oxides of nitrogen and less than 500 tons per year of carbon monoxide.
Nitrates?
You said it.
So that's where we're getting it from. But they do make mistakes in, there was a typo somewhere else, so.
I'm sure the landfill leaks carbon dioxide, or carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide
in
as
addition
well,
to carbon
but
dioxide.
it's not something that's mentioned in the permit.
And methane. So, but I would like to plan for the future. We've spent time talking about,
The present situation.
yes. So there's going to be 3 parts to this. When you plan for the future, obviously, we have a fiscal responsibility, right? We have some real issues fiscally. We need economic development, big time. And we're also going to need environmental responsibility. We're losing the only infrastructure that we know, the landfill. That's all we have for everything in our county and in our town for our waste management. So, it's a period. So for fiscal responsibility, if you've been following Seneca County, you know that there's talk of sales tax revenue sharing. Seneca County gets about 23 million in sales tax revenue, and what people are hoping is that since there's expected that we will get more revenue, they're hoping that anything above 23 million will be shared amongst all of the towns and villages in Seneca County. They met, the Board of Supervisors, or the committee that the Board of Supervisors formed met, I believe it was last week, and nothing's been decided. So they haven't stopped talking about it. I don't know if this will happen or not, but I think many towns and villages would like it to. The next item is reviewing water sewer contracts with other municipalities and businesses. Del Lago, Petro, SMI, and the Route 318 corridor. With this new sewer program that we are implementing for the town of Seneca Falls, all of their sewage is coming to our wastewater treatment plant in Seneca Falls. It's coming down the corridor, down 318. And it would seem to me that we should make sure that we are asking for the right amount to be
To provide this service.
Yes, to provide the service. Thank you. That's why we were working off each other today. The next item is exploring New York State funding. I think in the past, when Brad Jones when we had issues with land claim funds, taxes not being paid, I think Senator Nozzolio stepped up and was able to help us out. Perhaps there might be an option here for this. I'm not sure. At any rate, we need budget help. I made a little sign-up sheet on the tables over here. I see there's no pencils, but there are papers, and I will put pencils over there in just a minute. If you are a finance expert, if you know something about budgets, we really could use more eyes on this. We can't expect our town board members to know everything about everything. It's impossible. It's too much to ask, so we could use a little help. Economic development.
So Barb reached out to the Seneca Falls Development Corp, and their mission is to plan and implement programs, projects, and activities designed to create or stimulate economic and community development in the town of Seneca Falls. So she sent them an email, and they actually gave us quite a bit of information. They said the tasks that we are currently working on are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 9 things listed. First thing they have on the list is updating and finalizing the Seneca Falls Economic Development Plan, because an up-to-date plan is crucial when applying for grants. And then they have revamping their website to focus on the community for businesses and residents, putting together a list of vacant, zombie, and upcoming available properties for development opportunities, researching grant opportunities, working with the town's new grant writer, working on growing and expanding the farmers market, assisting existing small businesses with marketing and social media social media marketing, developing a relationship with the SFBA, which is the Seneca Falls Business Association, and paving a path for new businesses or current businesses who wish to expand, and going through the process on the town and county level with zoning, planning, and historic preservation committee. And they also had some other things that they're trying to do. So,
and the things that are happening right now that they did put, we should mention, some of you may know that the 5-Star Medical Corp is purchasing the old Village Hall Police Station, and they will be taking ownership of that. It says that they're going to be moving 1 to 2 of their manufactured products from Asia to Seneca Falls, where it will be manufactured and create 50+ new jobs. They have plans to expand over the next 5 years and have the potential to be a large employer in the region. And also of mention is the Seneca Falls Hospital and the municipal building at 10 Falls Street. Do you want to
it says
talk
they
about
will be
that?
putting in medium to high-end housing, solar panels, green space, and hope to develop the waterfront area with docks, walking paths, etc. This real estate transaction may have closed or will be closing any day now. Longley Jones is interested in other local renovation, especially historic renovation projects in Seneca Falls as well. So there are some things that are in the works, and there is this Seneca Falls Development Corp that is working on it. I did not know that this entity existed. Barb is really reaching out to a lot of people.
So they meet. Their next meeting is this January 26th at 5 p.m. in the Generations Bank boardroom.
And Menzo Case and Joelle Murray Karsten, I'm not sure who else is in this group.
Yes, and we are welcome to attend. There's a sign-up sheet if you want to put your name on it, and I can have them send emails to you so you know.
Question?
Yes, John.
Yeah, does that development corporation also have the power to give tax breaks to these and formulate pilots?
Like an IDA
Where we just,
does?
like the idea, along with the idea. 'Cause
Yeah.
The 5-Star Medical Group of it, they've gotten,
5-Star Medical went directly to Seneca County
Yeah,
IDA
yeah.
for their,
and
I
the
don't know.
taxes they don't pay, we subsidize. So, I mean, I'm all
But
for
we need-
stimulating the economy, but
Yeah.
if there's, like with Del Lago and others, the finance kickback packages that they've gotten from the IDA.
Well,
they've promoted.
yeah, and they really woo you to get in here, and once they get in here, they say, what breaks are you gonna cut me? And
Well, Longley Jones is doing the hospital, already told us they're not gonna do a pilot.
what's that?
They're not doing a pilot.
Oh, okay.
They're paying taxes right up front.
Okay, good, so you know, this is.
Log on.
Lago said that in the video.
Yes, you are on, so I feel like this is really important for us to all know about what's going on.
And there's a lot of other property that Longley Jones has looked at there in Seneca
Yeah.
Falls. And
Yep.
they're waiting for a Chrysler dealership to move. They're interested in that building there. They looked at the machine shop. They have a lot of ideas to bring some stuff in, so I think it'll be good for us.
Good, yeah, that's great. So if you want to know what's going on, go to the meeting. They do put their minutes online, but the last ones up there are just from October. So that's why this was very nice that Joelle, she's the chair, she gave us an update of that. So next, now we're on to environmental responsibility. And in 2016, the Seneca Falls Town Board did a couple things that I want to recognize. They passed a resolution for the creation of a zero waste plan, February 1st, 2016. I don't know, there wasn't that many people there that night, but it happened late and I clapped. I was very excited. They passed a resolution to be a climate smart community on November 1st, 2016. You may not have heard of that. I don't know if you were there.
What is a climate smart community?
So a climate smart community it's a designation by the Department of Environmental Conservation, and so there's actually going to be, I'll put this information up, you can learn more about it at the Seneca Falls Climate Summit, March 16th from 1:30 to 7:30 at Minders Academy.
And there are going to be different events going on. It's not a continuous 6-hour chunk of time that you have to be there.
Yeah, so it's basically, I asked the DEC if they would come to this event so they could, this is a summit that brings together youth and municipal leaders. I'm hoping maybe our Seneca Falls Town Board might be able to come because we could make some progress on being a climate smart community so that we could be more climate literate, know what that means, know how to react to some of the challenges like drought and like major storm events where we have all this waste water coming into our sewage and putting great demands on our wastewater treatment plant. There will be people there that will tell us, here's what's happening in the Finger Lakes area. These are the things that we need to plan for climate events, climate change. And so that's what's going on there. But I want to pop back up here and just note, passing a local, this local law 3 was environmentally responsible. These acts are saying basically, we're not okay with being the last resort. We want to have higher recycling rates. We want to try some new programs. And now is the time, really. So the town also has the Waste Management Advisory Committee. And I am a member of this committee. Supervisor Lazaro is the chair of it. Thank you. Basically, this is our responsibility. It's part of the town code. We're supposed to be monitoring compliance with permits, approvals, registrations, and host community agreements. And so it's funny because we were like, who's in charge of this? And it turns out there's actually a committee that's supposed to be in charge of making sure that everything's okay. If you hit that again. We're also supposed to provide the town board with recommendations regarding the town's oversight of waste management facility and basic policy. So any changes, like new programs or initiatives might be able to come from this committee. And nobody even knew it existed until we read the town code.
Well, I think the committee was actually defunct for a number of years. Am I right or no?
It was doing hazardous waste collections.
Okay.
It wasn't reading the reports from Seneca Meadows monthly. It wasn't looking at the permits. We still don't even know how many permits the town has. I foiled them and I'm still trying to sort through them to see what are we supposed to be monitoring next. But down here, the meetings are open to the public. We meet the second Monday of the month at 4:30. If you want to join us, you can sign up. For that too.
Arrow?
Yeah, go. So I'm hoping that, go ahead.
It didn't do anything. What do I have to do?
Push it again.
It did a little, okay.
So I'm hoping that maybe this Waste Management Advisory Committee can do some recycling education, maybe community composting programs, reuse programs, free cycling events. And so these pictures that I put on here, this is of the Ithaca Reuse Center in Tompkins County. Their mission is to reduce waste, relieve poverty, and to empower people through teaching them job skills, which sounds pretty awesome. And if you could meet the director of this place, you would want one of these centers in your town. And so if you want to be part of that, sign up, because I have a sign-up sheet. Over here is our compost bins at Seneca Falls Middle School. We're trying to show at the Seneca Falls School District that you can compost your food waste. We've been doing it for less than 3 years, and we've already diverted over 41,000 pounds of food waste from the landfill because we either compost it or we give it to farm animals. So you can do this, and we want to do it on a bigger scale. Seneca County has some responsibility to take in solving this problem. We need a local solid waste management plan. And also, if you've been following Seneca County government, you know that they put out requests for proposals. 3 came in, nothing's been accepted yet. It's a costly thing, and I think they're trying to figure out, do we do it or not? So if you can encourage them, go to the county board meetings and say, we really need this. Without this, we don't have a plan. And so if we were to have a plan, maybe we could have new infrastructure. Maybe it would be like a transfer station like Tompkins County has, where all these different things come in, and then they get sorted. You get much higher waste diversion rates by doing this. Tompkins County is at over 60% waste diversion. We're at 10. That's data. And maybe a composting facility. In 2021, the DEC is trying to make it law that any large producer of food waste will either have to donate it or have it be composted. We don't have a composting facility in Seneca County, and I would like to see one here. That could be a source of economic development as well. Yes, Marlene.
I was just wondering, because you were talking about permits and what could be allowed and who would allow it. Has there been any discussion about flow control? Because some places like Seneca Meadows have laws that control what comes in there. I mean, for instance, I was just in New York City because I was babysitting, and I noticed that outside my granddaughter's school are all these containers, and they're sealed containers, and they take all the food waste from her school and they place them in there. So they must have a place that they take that. So could Seneca Meadows be in control or be told that they have to control what comes into that landfill so that we aren't getting like, bags and bags of baby diapers. Think of the millions of every day, those bags and bags of baby diapers coming into this landfill. You know, does anyone ever talk about flow control?
You know what, at this point, they have to go somewhere, and they're coming here, and we already have 53 million tons of it in our backyard.
They have to go somewhere, but you can control what comes in there. There can be permits, and there can be, a town can
I think
say
that's
what.
why what needs to happen is this state law that would at least get organics out of the landfill. So if that happens, then it will have to be. If Seneca County were to say, no, you can't put food waste in the trash anymore, that would only affect 1% of what goes in there.
I mean, if you go to Oregon, you go to Toronto, you find everybody has a little bucket, and all their food waste goes in there. You know, whatever it is.
Well, that's what Barb's talking about, if we had a composting facility.
It is possible, but still, we still have to accept other people's laziness in a sense.
No one's not, we won't have 100% compliance by any means.
It's not.
It'd be silly to expect that.
Yeah, we might be doing that.
Yeah.
I might be composting, but I have to take other people's, we have to take other people's.
Right. Like we said.
There's something wrong with that.
Like we said on one of the first slides, 1.18% of the trash that's going into the landfill is coming from Seneca County, and roughly 99% of the waste is coming from other places.
Yeah. There should be some kind of flow control written into the permitting.
So Lorraine put up the last slide that says.
Did I skip anything?
No, you didn't skip anything. How will you help with the future of Seneca Falls? So please, somebody just at least sign up for something. I'll put a whole bunch of pencils over there. Or I'm going to start casting them. Does anybody have questions?
Can we go back to this composting for a minute? Okay,
Yes.
Tompkins County uses Cornell University's biodigester. They don't compost everything. A lot of their food waste goes to Cornell University, and a biodigester is similar to a sewage treatment plant. It's run through there, and then the effluent goes through the sewage treatment plant, and the gases are removed, similar to removing the gases at the landfill. And there are farms that have these, and they run the whole farm off the electricity generated, and they put food waste in these biodigesters. These counties that you're mentioning with these huge recycling rates and diversion rates are either burning it, putting it in a biodigester, or like California, they just don't give you any numbers, so you don't know what they're doing. They just claim to be number one. The EPA is mad at California because they don't report tonnage. how many tons of tires, how many tons of glass, how many tons of this, how many tons of that. They just say we're number one. But they're not.
So in Tompkins County, I understand what you're saying. Tompkins County actually has, it's called Cayuga Compost, and it's in Trumansburg.
Right.
That's their composting facility. But then they have Cornell Waste Management Institute, where they also have windrows of the same kind of system, where they're composting all of Cornell universities, which is actually like the size of Seneca County. So it's
They have biodigesters.
they have windrows. I have not, on my tours there, I have not seen their biodigesters.
They could do
But
it. They also have a nuclear power plant that they don't tell anybody about. Did you know that?
They make their own energy there.
No, they closed it down.
So
Try to hide it.
it's a pretty cool place.
One of the things that the agricultural community can do for you is these biodigesters. There's a lot of farms, big farms, dairy farms, that are taking food waste and running it through their biodigesters to generate electricity and run their farms. There's a number of articles on the internet, right here in New York State. The farmers are doing a really good job with it. Cayuga County's got one.
It's a good resource. We should be using our food waste
It's a
that way.
biogas. They also put their manure in the biodigester and they generate electricity with it. So the backyard composting like you're talking about doesn't always work on a large scale, and it doesn't work very good in the wintertime when everything's frozen.
It's interesting, the first winter that we had at school, we were maintaining temperatures in our compost bin of over 150 degrees.
Inside.
It was 20 degrees outside, so it worked. If you have to get it all right, you have to know what you're doing.
And if you're adding to it daily, tonnage daily, which you would be doing,
well, it all depends who wants to participate, but you can sign up. You can sign up. So, yes, Brett.
We spent a lot of time, and thank you.
Yeah.
Very educating, but
Sorry.
on odor.
Thank
but
you, David.
I have to go back to that leachate. I'm very, very concerned about leachate going through our infrastructure. You had mentioned 90,000 gallons a day that came through prior to Seneca Meadows then going through the reverse osmosis. And maybe this is a question for the DEC.
It goes through the reverse osmosis first, and then it goes to
But
the
before
sewage
that
treatment.
was in place, the potent leachate came direct.
I don't know how long we had this.
A period of time, but-
To get here.
My point is, reverse osmosis takes out some of that, whatever. During the 30-year closure, is reverse osmosis still being applied?
I believe it said so on that chart.
Okay, and then when we get to the end where they leave and we still get 12 million gallons,
A year.
is that a cost that we have to pick up, or is
I
it
don't
just?
know what happens after 30 years.
But I think those are questions that we need to ask, because that's the one takeaway tonight, is 12 million gallons.
Well, that's the thing, whose problem is this gonna be? It's gonna be our kids. We're not gonna, it's like, really? What do you want
more
to
than
do?
30 years, that you should be able to go and find out some of that information. I would
Yeah.
think.
There's a
See how
process.
they're being handled. Some have been turned into recreation facilities, and that may be a long-range goal, not for me, maybe my grandchildren. But I mean, there's some positive ways to work towards having that come to fruition, I guess. So I don't want to tell them negative, I guess. I think we gotta look to try to turn it into a positive. The other concern I have is, one thing on the back of this flyer, it says cancer rates in Seneca County are significantly above what our communities and what to do. And are we accusing the landfill of causing cancer?
I didn't put those out, so I didn't see that. I'm not accusing the landfill.
There's something the community feel we're using,
Unless I have a document that says,
we're using health concerns just as much as they're using monetary concerns to sway this issue. So I think we gotta be careful there. If you want to make those type of things. And if the landfill's causing, why would an Ontario County have it? It's closer to Ontario County than it is to a lot of
And let me
people.
tell you, there's that one smell.
yes, it does, it all.
I'm just saying, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something I'm not too happy to see in the flyer, unless you guys want to.
Yeah, no, I like the flyers.
That's not something appropriate.
I don't think correlation implies causation. I think somebody found that the rates were significantly higher. and just stated this as two facts. There, doesn't necessarily imply causation.
I don't think that's true anymore. If you go on this, there's a website, you can go on and check the cancer rates, and currently our county isn't higher.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I didn't put this together either.
In years past, we had the issue of the Army Depot.
I think it's becoming too political.
At that time, we were higher, but I don't think we are now.
I got my pencils and pens, I'm putting them out, so before you walk out that door, at least look and see. You learned something, or, I don't know, good or bad, but thank you for spending an hour with us.